What's up, everyone? Welcome to What's Up on the EDH Rec Twitch stream. This is a weekly AMA/interview style show where we bring on special people in the Magic the Gathering community and ask them questions until they hate me. And joining me tonight as my guest is the amazing and wonderful and talented Rebell Lily. Rebel, say hello to everybody.
When you start that intro, you're like wonderful, talented. I'm like, wait, where? I thought you had me on.
Moi?
Thanks for moi. Thanks for having me. Hi, everyone.
So glad to have you here. Looks like we got a ton of people in chat, some cool people.
Super cool.
So we got a bunch of people here, so I'm going to kick things off right away with the first question, the big question, the one that's on everybody's mind. Rebel, how the hell are you? How are you doing?
How am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm doing as good as I can do. Today was pretty good.
Everything
Given
going
just
on?
the universe, you know. I had a lovely dinner with Jesse Robkin earlier. Uh, and then I had an ice cream dress. So I'm doing fantastic. It's doing great. How are you?
Excellent. I'm doing all right. Again, given the state of things. For anybody who doesn't know you that is tuning in, why don't you go ahead and give us the spiel? Tell us a little bit about you, who you are, what you do.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Rebel. I make commander content, a lot of deck building stuff. A lot of people know me for building some of Prof's commander decks, so that's kind of a new thing. Um, I used to compete a lot in CDH, did a lot of competing last year at RCQs. Basically, I play every format under the sun, which is why I'm on the CFIP Commander Format panel. Um,
CFIP?
that's what I like to
That's what
call
we're
it. That's
calling it?
how I
Okay.
remember it. It's just CFIP.
Yep.
It'll stick. I'm there because I just have a lot of perspectives on Magic overall.
Excellent. All right, friends, remember this is an AMA style show, so go ahead and start dropping those questions for Rebel in the chat. I'm going to kick things off with a few of my own, and then we'll catch back up with all your questions in just a few minutes here. So Rebel, I like to start these AMAs off by asking you to give us your journey story. Tell us how you became a content creator. What brought you into this crazy lifestyle?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. Um,
Thank you.
I actually never thought I would make content. And every step I took forward, I'd be like, I'm not gonna do this thing. So how I got started was my good friend, Alan, Mental Misplay. He used to manage, he still does, an Instagram account called Ramp Gang. It's like Ramp Gang. It's like our local play group of just players in Brooklyn, and he likes to post on there a lot. And then what I used to help him with is I would make funny little memes for him to post with. Um, and they did pretty well. So one of my favorites was a I called it Nissa Jones. So it's basically Nissa with like a tinfoil hat, and it's just a bunch of conspiracies that she would spout about Magic the Gathering. It's like lore. So I helped them make a lot of memes, and then at some point I was like, maybe I should like doing this for myself. So at the time, I got really into CDH because of Alan. I actually didn't really like CDH, the idea itself. Like I was just like, I'm a commander player.
Mm-hmm.
I specifically play commander to escape competitive play. So uh, I had a very bad history with competitive gaming.
Okay.
So I specifically chose to play Magic as an escape from that. And then when I started like playing with that play group, people were like a lot spikier. So I was like, oh, okay, I guess we're playing like that now. um, and then one thing led to another where got really deep into CDH, and I started making content on my own Instagram, just like posts about like CDH itself. Then at this point, I was like, I'll never make a YouTube video. it takes so much effort. You know,
It
I'll never
does.
be that person.
It really does.
And it does. I'm not gonna. I don't want to edit. I don't want to record. I don't want to do all this stuff. Then I remember the first time I did it was I top 16 my second event I ever played in for CDH. And then I made a short video about it. And people in the CH community really liked it. And I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool. Maybe I'll keep doing this." And then Shivam in the chat, the next video I made was a banger. I think this was the one that like really kind of started putting me on the map. Was at the time, Jewel Lotus came out. Oh, I remember. My deck was Sisei, Weather Light Captain,
Okay.
and earlier on in the spoiler season, they revealed Opposition Agent. So I made a video of me calling Sheldon, fake calling Sheldon at the time. I didn't, really, I couldn't really talk to Sheldon.
Yeah.
So I called Sheldon to like complain about this card. And then I like faked this whole conversation of like, oh, my deck was never that good anyways. So it was like a funny little like video about Opposition Agent. Um, then afterwards, the next video that I made was Jewel Lotus because Jewel Lotus got released a couple days afterwards. So I'm like, oh, we're back in. We,
Yeah.
we lose to Opposition Agent, but now we have turn one Sisei. Um, and that one I made it in a black and white form, and then I didn't know. Yeah, that's Shivam knows. Shivam knows the deep lore. Uh, where I didn't know. I don't know how to speak. I don't know how to speak French, so I used Google Translate and translated all the lines and spoke really bad French through this whole video about Jewel Lotus. Anyways, so that kind of like let one thing led to another. I made
Mhm.
more videos. And that's kind of how I got here. Oh, the VTuber part was eventually I was like, I wanted to try using the VTuber. Oh, hi, Bobby. Oh, that's a good question. I really want to answer that one. What's my hottest commander take? Um, One thing led to another after my VTuber, and now I'm here.
And we
Short answer.
are very happy to have you here. We're lucky to have you here.
Very happy here. I'm lucky to be here. I actually thought about this earlier today. Actually, give me one second.
Mm-hmm.
I was at work. I had a big lunch, so I was sitting there just kind of getting a little sleepy at my desk, and I was thinking about this AMA today, and I thought, I think 4 years ago, I've only been making content for 4-ish years, maybe three, I think four. I remember 4 years ago, EDH Rec started an Instagram account when I made an Instagram account, like a little bit after I did. And I remember one of my goals was I want to be on that account. I want to get featured on that account. It
Uh-huh.
was like such a big goal of mine. And the fact that I'm able to have this conversation with you and be on this stream right now, I was just thinking like Rebel from 4 years ago would have been so stoked. Like, I still am stoked, don't get me wrong, but it's just like
just
I'm just
less.
yeah, it's not that
Think
it's
so. You
less.
just
It's just
tapered
like
off a little bit. I got it. It's cool.
it's that I just don't really recognize the progress sometimes,
Oh, sure.
So like I'm very appreciative that I'm here and like very excited that we can have this talk and I get to talk to everyone. Um
Absolutely.
that was kind of where I was going with that.
No, we're very happy to have you on the show here. Chat, keep busting out those questions. We'll come back to you in a few minutes. I've got a few more heaters for Rebel here, starting with let's talk about the Commander format panel.
A
Um,
CFIP.
this,
Oh, hi,
the
Kuro.
CFIP, yes. Hey, Kuro. Tell us about it. Tell us what it's like to be on the CFIP. What kind of secret uh, cabal meetings do you have? What color are the robes? And how much chanting do you do during these CFIP meetings? How much can you tell us?
How much can I tell y'all? I could probably tell you the structure. and what we're working on, because I think everything we're working on is public so far. I know the biggest one that everyone's excited about is the bracket system.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, I definitely worked on that. Uh, how many secrets per kill can I share? Um,
I don't even know what that
so
means, Kuro.
I don't even know what that means either, but it's evocative for sure.
Yeah.
What it's like is basically it's very interesting because I was on the CAG with Shivam, where the structure there was like we're more advisors to the rules committee, right?
Yep.
Here, we're all the same level, like former rules committee people, and former CAG members. We're all on the same tier, right? And it's basically just uh, we're given a prompt, and then we're all expected to provide feedback uh, with this prompt, and then Gavin takes it and interprets it how he wills, and then he probably works it through with Watsy somehow, and then that's kind of how it works. So we like kind of workshop things back and forth. He comes back with more questions, more ideas, and then everyone just contributes. It's a pretty it's a pretty neat group because something that I know the CFIP care or focus a lot more on is making sure there's representation across different regions.
Mm-hmm.
So, um,
Now, does that make meetings harder with all the different time zones? Do you
uh,
have like a try to have like a big meeting of everybody, or is it kind of like more like a group chat type thing?
so it's more of a group chat type thing. But the first thing that I recommended actually was that we have an intake form, so that the uh, members across different regions they're able to provide feedback and not have it get lost, like on like an equal footing, right? I think it's really difficult, and I'm sure everyone would feel this, like knows this, when you wake up and go to like a Discord or something, and there's like bajillion messages, right? You're not gonna scroll back. Like it's just so much work to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I wanted to make sure was that like the other CFIT members don't have that experience. Like everyone, I'm really trying to make sure that we all have an easy way to contribute, so then all our feedback is like viewed on the same level.
Okay. Now, of the people who are not in North America in the CFIP, do you ever find that their views on the game is surprising in
Mm,
any way? Like it's just vastly different from how we experience it in North America?
I don't think so. I think everything is pretty consistent. I think
Okay.
there's slightly different focuses on different regions. Or like maybe there's a little bit more competitive commander in one area. One area might have a more mid power, or their mid power slightly different, that kind of thing. But I think everyone's been pretty like. I think one thing I really like about CFIP, so this I like that we're saying CFIP. So far, it's just uh, everyone kind of gets it, and it's just like a building on our ideas and making sure that there's like a good consensus. So uh, it's been like a really good experience, and I'm very excited for Gavin to show y'all what the bracket system's gonna be like.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's announced for February something. I don't
Like
somewhere.
10th or 11th or
Yeah,
something
I
like
was
that.
thinking 10th or 11th.
Yeah. We're on the topic of the committee. Storm EDH asks, are there any voices that are louder on the committee?
I wouldn't say louder. I think it goes back to their whole regional kind of like not issue, but like uh I the way I engage generally on Discord is I like to read a lot, and then I say like one big block, right? And then some people's communication form is more like rapid.
Yeah,
Um so it's not so much their voices are louder, it's just there's different like methods of communication.
sure.
Um and then like I write in big blocks, or I try to write in as little of a block as possible, because this is something that I've learned about myself, and I think other people as well, is we have a lot of opinions. Like we love this game, right? So if I asked anyone here, like, what do you think about XYZ? Anyone, I'm pretty sure can write like a paper on it, right? And I'm trying to like focus myself on like how do I say as little as possible to convey like the most important part rather than all the details. And if someone wants the detail, I can give more. Um, but yeah, I don't think there's anyone who's there's no voices that are louder.
Mhm.
It's just more like some people talk more because they have more time. Some people just like to read and then engage kind of thing.
Sounds good. All right, I'm going to ask you one more of my questions, and then we're going to go to the questions in chat. So, people watching, make sure to get your questions in there now so we can go check back with those in a minute. Um, so, my question is I guess it's more of a scenario. Let's pretend tomorrow Gavin Verhey calls you and says, Rebel, we're breaking up the CFIP. It's just you. You're in charge of Commander. What's your first action?
Oh, that's such a good question.
Thank you.
Okay, so here's like a semi-secret. It's not really a secret. Uh, Basically, I'm gonna transport us back a couple of years. Uh, a couple of years ago, Sheldon asked me because I was being interviewed for to go on the RC. If I was to fix Commander, how would I fix it? Um, I thought about it for a really long time. And I remember I was on an airplane going to Seattle to play a CDH tournament. This is the first big CDH event in Bellevue after lockdown, right? It's a pretty
Mm-hmm.
big deal for a lot of us. So I was on the plane going to Bellevue or to Seattle, and I was writing this paper, this like one to like multiple page paper, um, where I had a super brutal like vision on how I would fix Commander. At the time I thought this is impossible to do. But if I had like ultimate power, this is what I would do. Basically, in my view, one of the biggest kind of like issues or the toughest parts of Commander is that when you sit down at the table, you have to talk about what level you're playing, and everyone has like different expectations of like what fun means to them, right? Um, just the other day I was coaching someone on helping them build their deck, and they were like, I was thinking like the deck would be more like Death and Taxes, and then I was like, oh, okay, and then I started like working with them on it, and they started bringing up some cards. I'm like thinking that's not really Death and Taxes. So my point is just everyone has a different expectation of Magic itself, right? So it becomes really difficult for you to sit down and like have an even game with total strangers
Mm-hmm.
when you don't know, who they are, what their decks are like, and all this stuff, right? They don't know you. So to me, the problem was that it's a two-prong problem. Uh, the top end of our commander, or the top end of commander is too strong, right? CDH basically. Where you're given access to decks of vintage level like of power, right? If
Mm-hmm.
someone wants to build a vintage storm deck, basically like from Cube, they can. And we've seen that. And a lot of players are like, well, that's available to us. Why can't I do that, right? And the other end is on the low end, commander decks are like precons. I wouldn't say precons. Precons are really well built, but there's the bottom, the lower power end of commander is a little too weak, right? An issue I had when I was trying to teach my work call sorry, my friends um commander when they mostly played arena or draft, the first few turns they're like, this game sucks. We're doing is ramping. We don't do anything.
Uh-huh.
And I was like very interested. Like I never like, oh, you're right. I never really thought about that. Um, so it was a two-pronged problem. So my suggestion was we cut the top end, cut all the fast mana, cut Dockside, uh, Mana Crypt, Dockside, all the zero rocks, um, so that the mana acceleration is lowered. And then the other part is Wizard starts printing cards that is not ramp focused, where your turn one, two, three, like your turn one, two, three, you're playing cards that's more relevant to the format that advances your plans in a way that's like different from like 60 card types of cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you have access to like impactful plays earlier on in the game. And now you also don't have access to powerful stuff to push uh, your deck to be too powerful. So essentially, if we think about the range, it's chop is bring it a little smaller. So now if I sit down at a table from someone, I can't be that strong because my fast mana is gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I can't be that weak because the precons are printing or the cards are printing are pretty darn good. So when you, I also shared this. So I went to Bellevue, um, and then it happens to be that Gavin was, on his way to go somewhere else, and I happened to be like, "Oh, I'm in Seattle." He's like, "Oh, okay, let's talk." I'm like, "Really?" So I told him. He asked me the exact same question, and I told him this theory of mine or this paper. So very recently, when the recent commander bans happened,
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea what's happening. Like I got all I knew was like, oh, we were shared that in a couple of days those cards are all getting banned, and I was like, oh my god, they're actually doing it. So when you ask me like if I have ultimate power to do whatever I want to do, I kind of already did it. Because it's basically exactly what I wanted. It was to remove some of the fast mana, and also the new precons are so strong that like some of the decks that players are building can't even like compete with them because they're so efficient and so powerful, which I think is a good thing. Um, so if I were to take more action, there's a couple cards I would like to pick, but
Go
but
on. We're listening.
people, I don't think. People don't have to be concerned because there's a lot of people who would have kept that one in the back pocket. I actually talked about that in another video of mine. So I don't have the ability to change it. It just happened to be that way.
Okay.
So these cards that I personally dislike, you don't have to worry about because there's a whole CFIP. And,
Mm-hmm.
and not everyone is aligned on what cards to get rid of. I'd get rid of Ristic Study. I think Ristic Study has to go. I will ban Ristic Study. I would also get rid of this is like a very CH focused like decision. Perplexing Chimera is so annoying.
Okay.
You know what that card does?
Off the top of my head, no.
Essentially, whenever Perplexing Chimeras on the battlefield, if someone casts a spell, you can now swap. You can swap control of that spell and the chimera, so someone else can have the chimera. It's super annoying when you're playing in CH because that creates a board stall where, first of all, players are hesitant to cast spells. Second of all, when people start fighting over spells, that chimera creates so many triggers on the stack that becomes really annoying to resolve. I think it actually kind of creates like a bad experience. But it's narrow enough where I don't super care about it. Ristic Study, I think, has to go. I think Ristic Study, the issue with Ristic Study is that in casual play, it doesn't really matter. Most people have enough mana to play through it. But at the CH, at the competitive level, I think games are being ruined by it because when there's multiple players with a Ristic Study and there's a lot of spells on the stack, the to resolve it all cleanly takes a lot of effort and for you to track everything. And I think it also just gives players too many resources.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in that environment, because it's like ruining events that people are spending money to play in, um, and stuff like that, I think that card needs to go. Just because it doesn't impact casual, and also I don't think casual players are like dying to have Ristic Study. Like I think
I never
losing
played it.
Ristic Study,
Yeah.
yeah, like I have seen decks of Ristic Study, but like if you took Ristic Study out of the deck, they're like, I'll play something else more fun. I just had it because I didn't know what else to draw.
Now, Mishota mentioned Esper Sentinel. Do you feel the same way about Esper Sentinel? Do you
Mm.
think that gets a pass because it's a creature or it's white, or what do you
It
think?
gets a pass because it doesn't trigger on every spell. So that's why Remora gets a pass too. Remora is annoying, but Remora you have to pay the upkeep,
You get
like
it.
the
Yeah, the
upkeep
upkeep
trigger.
is huge. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the fact that study is just like on every single cast trigger, or cast, makes it very, very like annoying to resolve.
Hmm.
So if I had ultimate power, I'd probably just trap those cards. Um, yeah, I think that's it. Because I think Commander's in a super good spot right now. I think it really is. Uh, the next goal is to be able to create these tools, like the bracket system, that considers a lot of different like perspectives and kind of like, yeah, backgrounds to create a tool that people can use to easily find games.
Very cool. All right, we're going to switch gears here and move on over to some chat questions. People in chat, drop those questions. This is an AMA. She's not just answering my questions; it's all of yours as well.
Oh,
And if you like what you see, drop us a sub or maybe give a gift sub to your best friend in chat.
yeah,
We'd
that.
appreciate the support. Let's go all the way back to my good friend Morgan, who asked about what's your hottest commander take.
Honest commander take.
Yeah.
Well, my hottest commander take, one of them was, we should ban Dockside. It's not that hot actually. A lot of people are behind that one, I think. Probably 50-50. Um, this is probably not my hottest, but I thought Golos was fine. Um, I think Golos being banned was a little weird to me. Uh, I get that it's like ubiquitous. I get that a lot of five color decks played it. It made really strong decks, but there's like a lot of really strong commanders, you know? So to me, it's like a little. I don't really get why specifically Golos, um, just because Golos was strong. I don't think that's like that hot though, because I think a lot of people are like, I like Golos, you know, I don't want Golos to be banned.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think about what is like the hottest take I have. Oh, hmm. I'm trying to think. I usually have a lot of hot takes for Commander. Oh, here's a fun one. I don't know if this is the hottest one, but I think pretty hot. I think uh I think the content creator commander experience is overrepresented, um in how people engage with commander. So what I mean by that is, and this is specifically related to the bracket system. Uh, when I try to design a bracket system, or when I try and give feedback for the bracket system, I think about the player who goes to the LGS maybe twice a month because they happen to have a couple hours free. They want to have some beer and pretzels, play jam some cards, right? They're not gonna sit down and like be like, well, what win con are you playing? Here's like they're not gonna have that whole like conversation the way like streamers would have it, because there's different needs, right? This
Mm-hmm.
Streamers are educating players on how to have that conversation, but also they kind of need to make sure the game's really good because the next couple of hours, you know, like people are watching and they want to make sure it's good, right? And other stuff like that. I think most players do not have the patience or interest in having that rule zero conversation. Whenever I go to a con to grind for like another format, I whatever whenever I drop I drop from the event, I always go to play commander with a bunch of strangers because I want to get a sense of how people are playing, how people are engaging, and everyone I've played with, generally just are just like, oh, this is my deck. I think it'll be fine. And like that's like the whole conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess my hot take is just like when I think a lot of like online communities kind of imagine that like, oh, the player, like imagine that other players are going to have that amount of connection and patience the more engaged players do, right? Where for I think a vast majority of players who enjoy Commander or Magic, um, they don't think about it. They don't think about Magic that critically. It's like it's one of 20 different hobbies they have. They're here to play Magic and then go home and play League of Legends or something like that, you know? Like they're not here to do that type of thing. So that's something that I would like people to kind of be more considerate about when talking about this kind of thing or thinking about how we support LGSs or other players is that the people who are engaged, we can solve our problem very easily. We can talk about it. We're interested to have that conversation. The players who need these tools the most, they aren't interested to have that conversation. And that's why we have to make sure that we can figure out some way that we can support them in this.
Mental Misplay just rated us with
Whoa.
26 followers. Hello, friends. Hello, everybody. Hello, Alan. We are doing a live AMA here with Rebel Lily, and we're happy to have you here. If you have questions for Rebel, go ahead and drop them in the chat, and we'll be getting to those shortly. Let's see. Benji the Great asks, will we be getting more LGS content?
Yes, 100%. I love making LGS content. It's just I've had an episode. For people who don't know what this is, I have what is it? It's like an anime basically that I make of multiple characters who work at a LGS, and it's kind of popular. So I've had an episode in the works, like 90% done forever, and I just haven't had the motivation to finish it. But I do love making it, and I think I'm definitely gonna make more episodes. It's it's something I've when I started working on the LGS, I've ne I do a lot of like world creating in general. I like to create characters. I like to create worlds. I'm sure a lot of people are similar with like D&D and stuff like that. And at the LGS was the first time I felt like, wow, I feel like my purpose in life was to write these characters. It just like it worked out so well. The story is like so tight, and the relationships and every like all the details of it just made so much sense. So uh it's like a very silly little slice of life romance anime. Um, but I really like it, so I'm definitely gonna finish it.
Awesome. We look forward to seeing that. Kuro Hitsuki asks, who is your most looked forward to commander from Ether Drift? Is there anybody in this new set that you're dying to make a deck with, Rebel?
So great question. I actually recently did a live stream brew of Hashaton, the zombie that people are really excited about.
Yeah.
Because I saw someone post Hashaton is gonna be the next tier one CDH commander, and I was like, no way. Um, so I wanted to make sure that, you know, um, I wanted to test it first before I make that claim. So I started like goldfishing it a lot, and I'm like, I don't think this is gonna be that good. So, but I wanted to try to make a really, really good. Hashatron's not that good, Alan. I guarantee you, Hashatron's not that good. So in our live stream, we tried to make the best Hashaton deck we could, which was fine. And then I made a casual version of Hashaton, and it was awesome. It was like like such a fun deck. Basically, I threw in like 20 land cyclers, like creatures that like cycle for basics, so that I can get away with really low land count. But then basically I don't even need to have a discard outlet because all my creatures discard themselves. So once I have enough lands, I get to start getting copies of them. It's such a fun commander.
Yeah, I love
um
Ashton.
so I think Hashaton is cool. I'm trying to think of like what's one that's not Hashaton. I actually haven't paid super close attention to Aether Drift. The thing that I did get most excited about, something about so with the recent like quantity of sets that come out, sometimes really hard to like keep up, you know? Um, and kind of like my model how I keep up at this point is just like if it shows up on a MTGO screenshot, in some like standard deck that top forward, I'm gonna look at those cards, and until it shows up there, I'm not gonna read them.
Mhm.
But for Aether Drift, I was really excited about the Gear Hulks because I love Gear Hulks. I
Oh
think Gear
yeah,
Hulk is so cool.
yeah.
So I looked at those, and then for Commanders, I think this I don't remember what he does, but there's a very cool looking shark pirate guy.
Hmm.
I think he's Is it. No clue what he does, but he is a cool looking guy.
Yeah.
Um, Another one that I think is really neat is uh uh is it Pia Nalar? Chandra's mom?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, the other legend within the precon, the team of precon. Yeah, she looks really fun because she makes vehicles and then you can like play creatures through them. So I think those two most excited.
Cool. Um, let's get back to more questions in chat here. Spectacles in Blue says you have over time written on bringing your life experiences into content, be it work or now modeling. Does it ever work in reverse, content translating to daily life?
Content translating to daily life. Wait, let me make sure I get that correctly. I've written around. Oh, I get it. I get it. I think it's like have my learnings and content kind of went backwards to daily life. Um, so something I'm very mindful of is I try to keep my content creation very contained. And my relationship with content creation very contained. And what I mean by that is uh there's a when you start creating content, there's a very strong draw to make everything content, right? So like I can take a picture of this drink and post it. I could be, doing something else, right? Like once you realize that every little part of your life can be content, it becomes a very like I think I don't know how to describe it. It becomes a very intense relationship with content. So what I try to do is make sure like I put specific hours of my week that I can spend on content. And also at certain points, I also just don't do content, and certain things I will refuse to make into content, right? So because I have a very segmented relationship with
Mm-hmm.
my content to make sure that like, I get to live a relatively normal life. Um, Not a lot actually makes it back into like my daily life. But recently, like, I did write about how, um, my kind of like day job is making websites. I'm a UX designer,
Okay.
and I generally, when I take on big projects, I don't super care about the branding aspect or the marketing aspect because I focus on the product. I liked making like, the website, the app or whatever, and whatever labels and like branding and how you want to market it doesn't concern me. I don't super care. Um, but then I thought about like, wait a second. I could really care about marketing because I'm actually really, really good at marketing because of how I've, throughout the last 2 years, constantly like learned and iterated on my own content strategy, where I've like done so many different things and tried so many different things to like get my content to be where it needs to be, um, all this other stuff, right?
Yeah.
So because of that, I was like, wait a second, actually, I could really do marketing really well because I know how to like find my audiences, know what they're looking for, give them exactly what they're looking for, package it well. I can write it in a way that's like engaging. So content creation did give me a lot of skills in that regards to like kind of like do strategy that way.
Awesome. Let's see. Naj says you have 2 hours to play Commander. Do you prefer four 30-minute games or two 1 hour games, one long game and two short
Hmm.
games? What's your ideal session?
My ideal session. I think 30 is too short. 30 is too short because generally like a player takes like, I don't know. I think the beginning couple turns is like maybe a couple minutes, but once you get into like the meaty part of it, people take a while. right? Like 7 minutes a turn, maybe, to think through everything, commit their combat, have lovely banter. So if you think about 30 minutes, that's like 3 turns. Um, so I think 30 is a little too short.
Hmm.
I think 2 50-minute games, and then that one last impossible game before the LGS closes, where you're like, oh, we can play really fast, right?
Yeah.
And then everyone shuffles up, and then they're like, you gotta get out, right? That's kind of the way I think about it. Um, yeah, I would say 2 50-minute games or 2 hour games, two 1 hour games, because I know generally how kind of like how much time these things take at a comfortable pace, right? If I'm playing with a play group that no banter, just plays, yeah, I could do 30 minutes. But in general, 1 hour games.
Let's see. Kuro Hitsuki says, Rebel, your journey with modeling and growth has been inspiring to see. Do you still enjoy it, and do you have goals for the future in that direction?
Yes. I'm going to a casting call tomorrow for a fashion show. So I might be walking at a fashion show for New York Fashion Week. Um, I do have a lot of goals, but one thing I try to do for modeling specifically and in fashion is I don't want to have expectations because it's less so of me having a result and more so me exploring a new thing and being comfortable with who I am and like seeing where it goes. Um, which is very different from Magic because when I compete and like that whole journey, which I'm still on, but I gotta take a little break for now, is I have a specific result I have to hit, right? Um, which I don't really want to have that relationship with other things I'm trying. Because that's just like to grow. Yeah,
Very cool.
more stuff happening.
Yeah, and more ways we get to see you. So that's
Mhm.
awesome for us. Let's see. Kusher 3 Nada has a long question here. With the bracket system not banning cards but placing them into higher orders of play, which I don't think was necessarily stated that there wouldn't be any bans, but how can we trust that WotC or the CFIP will be responsive to format needs in a timely manner? For instance, the One Ring might be a 4 card. It's also a chase card that drives sales. How can we trust WotC would move it to a bracket early, thus impacting sales? So on and so forth. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, there's actually kind of two parts to this question, I think.
Yeah.
Um, but I think the first part is the timely matter part. So very interesting. I think one thing that I do like about the CFIP a lot, and this is something I did share like publicly on Reddit very recently, is when we announce a bracket system, or Gavin announces it, it's not going to be the final thing, right? Like the first time we saw the bracket system was an idea, right? And this time, it's also not expected it's going to be the final thing because the expectation is that we're going to keep trying and taking feedback and trying to create a system that works, right? And we can't make it good until we have feedback, right? So the difference with the CFIP in the past RC is I think the RC had more of like a this is the answer kind of like relationship with kind of decision making. While so far, the CFIP really has just been, at least me working on it with others, is here's our best guess. Let's put it into the wild, test, or like learn from that and make it better. Which is like very similar to kind of like the product design mindset that I have. It's not about making the best app, it's about making a good one, learning from actual user behavior, quickly making adjustments, relaunch, test again, right? So I think we're more towards that vein than the other one. So in regards to making sure it's in a timely manner, I can't tell you like how timely, but the expectation it should be pretty responsive. And then the second part is I think the question is what is the relationship of the CFIP and WotC's like business decisions? Because I think you could see an implication where it's like, the One Ring is a chase card, right? And And I don't know exactly the decision making, of course, it's like, speculation, but like that was one of the things that was like tough about the One Ring in Modern, right? Because the One Ring is a super chase card from Lord of the Rings, but it was just ruining Modern. Like, it was just like Modern was just so tough to play because every deck had the One Ring. You could slot it into the aggro energy deck and it made it better, right? But what are you gonna do? Ban the chase card that just came out? So you know, can't really figure out like when the timing is correct. But what I can comment on, I think, is like uh I do genuinely think that the CFIP's like whatever the decision making there is really focused on like the health of the format. So even if let's say there's another One Ring, actually no, the current One Ring, right? Like there's a new Super Chase card that is somehow like pretty strong or whatever, really popular. I think the decision to remove it would be the same decision for around something like Nadu, right? Only when it's genuinely breaking the game,
Hmm.
that's when you can imagine, a card to be gone. But it's not because of a business decision. Like, sorry, it's not because of like a sales related decision. It's purely on like the gameplay, player experience. So that's
Um,
what I think.
Now you had mentioned product design. That kind of stoked a question in my head. And there's another one that's a Given Verhey scenario. I seem to come up with those a lot. Given calls you tomorrow and says, "Rebel, we want you to come be a designer for Magic." What do you say?
Yes. Yes. Um, yeah.
Is that like a
So,
potential dream job? Would you just jump
um,
at the chance to do that?
I don't know if it's probably is a dream job. I think the thing I wanted to do, the thing I would love to do, is to work on one pre-con. That's all I want to do. I wanna I think it'd be super duper cool to kind of like be able to impact like the game that way.
Yeah,
But also a long time ago, not long, like a year ago, I wrote this thread about how like after I've played a lot of Commander. Probably you have played a lot of Commander, and after a while, it kind of starts feeling the same. Like you can apply like to me like mechanics start to feel like a layer of paint on top of the actual gameplay, right? If you think
hmm,
about Commander gameplay, it's like I'm gonna play thing A and then play thing B that makes thing A better, and then play thing C that makes A and B better, right? Or something like that. Like if you really boil it down, it's just basically most players at the casual, like non-competitive level, it's just like playing things that forwards their game plan, and eventually someone hits critical mass, and then they win, right? Or they get interrupted, and someone else hits critical mass and win, right? There's like this play pattern of everything just goes up, and then it ends. And I really wanted to figure out: is there a way that I could design a precon or some cards that breaks that model. Because one of the things that people have said about Commander, it's basically a board game, right?
sure.
And not every board game plays to that scenario I just outlined, where not everyone's always just going a single trajectory. Board
Yeah,
games have so many different ways that they're played, right? So many different textures. So something I would like to like figure out is like, is there a card or a series of cards I can add to a precon or a commander that can fundamentally change the way a game is played, where it's more refreshing, right? And I'm sure WotC would love this. I'm sure that's the holy grail of like design, right?
yeah.
If they're able to add something to totally like have a new play experience without making it too complex. Probably great. So I would love to design a precon.
Well, do you think that
A
was
short
the
answer.
intent with stuff like plane chase and
Hmm.
conspiracy, that kind of thing? Do you think that was is that kind of along the same lines as what you're thinking of refreshing the experience, or do you think
I think
something
so.
bigger?
Well, I think that's how Wizards has been experimenting with it, especially. This is super underrated. But in recent releases, I think the precons came with this. Yeah, like the Thunder Junction precons had a special set of rules for you to play with.
The
I
bounties.
don't the bounty thing, right?
Yeah.
And then at the LGS on release, I think they had special events where players can be part of different factions or something, and then like you can, hunt each other as bounty hunters or criminals. I forgot what the mechanic was. Um, but I do know they're exploring it, and I think some of it could be like promoted more for players to experience it. The issue, I think, is just like most players just want to play Commander. They just want to like. I don't really want to play any other flavor. I don't want to play Plane Chase or whatever. I just want to play my deck
Yeah.
in the game I want to play. So that's why I think ultimately it has to be injected into the game through a commander, and not something like initiative or the what's it called, Unfinity, those things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll find a way to like add it.
All right. We got just a few minutes left here. Let's try and knock out some more of these chat questions. Nicknax96 says, "Why is Gigantha the best companion?"
Because
Because next
Jaggy.
question. No, just kidding.
Yeah, because it's Jaggy. That's Jaggy doesn't need a reason.
Yeah. All right. Stormy DH asks, "How much time do you spend brewing versus playing? Are you a big brewer, Rebel?
Oh yeah, super big brewer.
Do you have like stacks and stacks of decks that you started and didn't finish, or finished and then realized you didn't like it, so you took it apart right away?"
Well, I build everything on Architect, so I don't have that many stacks of cards just because I do build online a lot.
Okay.
So I do brew a lot. I because I play so much Magic for a while, I got kind of bored. Like I got to that phase where I was like, everything's basically the same thing. If it's vehicles, if it's energy, if it's whatever, lands, landfall, it's all the same, right? And I started playing other formats like pre-modern and then modern, standard, pioneer, and I got to love the cards from those formats so much that I get to come back to Commander. I'm like, you know what? What if I took some of those ideas and made new decks out of it? So I've been brewing a lot more lately.
Okay.
So definitely more brewing. I haven't played. I think this year so far I've played one, maybe zero. I can't remember the last time I played Commander. Um, yeah, it's been a little while.
Yeah, I have only played pre-con games myself. I got all these decks sitting up here collecting dust. People, if you have a stream where you play Commander, invite me on. I know Kuro Hitsuki always does. Love you, Kuro.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Mishodam says, "What's the best way or a good way to get feedback to the CFIP about things we'd like to see done with EDH without just bugging the members directly?"
I was just gonna say bug the members. Um,
But not you, somebody
I,
else, right?
yeah, not me.
You're busy.
Super busy. Actually, you can bug me about it. I scour Reddit a lot because I like to read what people are saying because it gives me a really big view into like different LGSs, different expectations. I get to learn about how complete new players jumping into this game trying to learn it to people who are like very experienced. So basically, I think it is just bug people like us. I know that's not the answer we wanted, but there at the moment there isn't a form yet. So if we make a form, maybe. But I still think bugging us is probably the best way. I'll see. I'll see what decision gets made around how the feedback's gathered because I did say that we do want to integrate feedback to make our systems better.
Cool. Let's see. Kuro Hitsuki says, "When will the content creator modeling calendar come out, and can I model with you? We can do JoJo poses." Now, I have something to add to this because a couple years ago, I actually suggested something similar when I said, I forget whose stream I was on. I think it might have been Corey's stream, that TCG guy. I said, we need a dad bod MTG content creator calendar because I could rock that.
Definitely.
Totally. But Kuro would like to do a modeling calendar with you, so meet up with Kuro sometime.
Dunzo. And we have a photographer in the chat, so we can make it happen.
Let's see. I've got a few more questions. Rebel, do you have time for a few more questions?
Yeah, let's bang them out.
All right. Dark Ray 79 says Rebel Lily is absolutely wonderful. That is not a question, but I thought I'd mention it out
Thank
loud
you.
because it is very true. I am a vampire by rumor. Question for Lily. What is your dream commander that doesn't exist yet? For example, mine would be a Grixis Storm commander, like a UBR version of Kaikar.
Oh, there has to be a Grixis. Oh, I guess a UBR version of. Oh, if Kaikar was Grixis, that would be nuts. If you just drop that white for black, Kaikar would be nuts. I think you do have options. You have better options for Grixis. A commander that I would, my dream commander that doesn't exist yet. Hmm. Okay, this is gonna go back to that question of if I would like to work on a precon. So first of all, I would have wanted an energy commander, like a good one. But the last couple sets solve that problem for me. We have
Right?
plenty of good energy cards. A lot of really cool energy cards. Then the next one, this one is a very specific kind of problem I ran into kind of like pretty consistently is oh wait a second. I'm having ideas now. Food. There are food options,
Yeah.
but none of them are good. there's like there's I'm trying to think. Every time I try and brew food, something about the entire suite of cards that are available in food are just not really that strong together. The only way food works is when you pair it with life gain, kind of like synergize or synergy cards, to turn the life gain of the food into damage,
Mm-hmm.
or Academy Manufactor, right? So, food I would like to see like a pretty fun one. I think that'd be cool. Oh no, we got Yigra. I guess Yigra counts as food. Um, and then the last one is I would like to have a commander that lets you play the game like the raccoon from Root. Does anyone play Root?
I love Raccoon.
Um, so to me, Root's the best designed board game because
Yeah.
Root does this fantastic thing, which I try to translate to Commander.
Yeah.
Is Root has successfully has four different games happening at the same time, but they all complement each other and
Yeah.
create a better game out of it, right? You have one kind of like resource management, empire birds. You have the rebels fighting the cats. The cats are like conquering the map, and you have that was it Vanguard, Vagabond, something like that. But you have that hero having an RPG kind of like game, going to the map. I want that RPG experience with my commander. And I know you can play Voltron. I know you can I don't know, enchant your commander, put equipment on it, play stuff around it, but I want to have that feeling of like, oh, I'm creating an RPG for myself and leveling up or like doing whatever, uh, while kind of my opponents are having these grand battles with something, and I'm just a little guy.
um,
So that's something I was thinking of.
Command Zoe, thank you so much for the raid,
Thank
friend.
you.
Zoe is a wonderful person and writes for me over on Card Gamer. She writes great arena and brawl content over at Card Gamer, so go check that out. And I wanted to address this question a little bit myself, as far as like the dream commander thing, because I've had a couple commanders where I was like, for like the longest time, I was like, oh, I wish we had this, and then it finally happened, and then I just stopped being excited about it. That's what happened with Urtet. For like the longest time, I was like, we need a 5-color legendary mirror, and then we got
Oh
Urtet, and I'm
yeah.
like, okay, well, not
Okay.
excited about it anymore. you know?
There's something about Urtet. Like I actually very recently looked at Urtet because I wanted to make a 5-color Gear Hulk deck, and I was
Mm,
like, who's a good 5-color commander who could take on Gear Hulks? And I thought like I guess Urtet because Urtet's like a an artifact and stuff like that. But like Urtet's design is like you read it and like I guess it does that. It's not like Brutaclad, right? Brutaclad's cool. Brutaclad, you
Verticlad's
get
a
to turn
freak,
everything
man.
yeah, you get to turn everything of that, like turn one token to be like all these other tokens. Like it's like so fun, right? Um, so we kind of need that level of design for like something like five color. Something about five color commanders so far have all been like very how do I describe it? Just not as exciting, I think.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Let's see. Storm EDH says, how much feedback does the committee give on future sets, and how soon do you
Oh,
see them? Any?
zero.
Zero? Yeah, I actually wouldn't. I wouldn't think so. But is that something that could possibly change? That has there been any talk from Gavin about you would have input on?
Mm-mm,
Okay.
mm-mm. I think also the problem is like uh there's just too many people on the CFIT to like like as part of the product development cycle, like they kind of need to get this done quickly. So to add like a like let's say 10 other voices to be like
Right.
critiquing those cards, I think would just add too much.
Yeah.
So I don't yeah, that's probably not something that'll happen.
Let's see. Kusher3 Nada says, do you think that content creators could do a better job of communicating winning isn't bad? A trend I notice in casual pods is
Hmm.
doing the thing is taken as granted owed action, and when that doesn't happen, bad feelings can occur. So I think basically saying, like, should people feel bad if they end the game before other players have gotten a chance to do what their deck is supposed to do? What do you think about that?
Let me reread that question. Do you think that content creators could do a better job communicating winning isn't bad? Um, I think so. Like here's like the thing. Here's how I imagine the entire Commander ecosystem would be like. And I'll give you a very fun little story. I was walking home I recently just moved to this neighborhood, just like in summer. I'm walking home wearing my MTG t-shirt, and there's a kid actually playing ball outside, right? Which is like, whoa. In the year 2024, a kid actually just playing ball outside, instead of playing like, a video game.
Uh huh.
Um, he was just playing ball, and then he looks at me and he goes, "Do you play Magic?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I love Magic." And then I was like, uh, "Do you watch Shuffle Up and Play?" He's like, "No, what's that?" I'm like, "Oh, do you know like the professor?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "Oh, do you know Game Nights?" No. And I was like, "Oh, wow."
Right.
Um, and to me, that was kind of profound
Mm-hmm.
because I thought the expectation was that like if you play Magic, you at least know Game Nights and Prof, right? Like that's like the, the starting level.
Yeah.
Um,
Prof has a
but
million
most
followers. Who doesn't know who Prof is?
right, but most people I meet, at work, out on the street, who play, I get called out to like, oh, I like Magic because I wear Magic merch a lot. Um, a lot of people I know, or like I meet, no idea like content creators. They just if they are that exact audience that I'm thinking of. I was talking about earlier. They own a deck with four soul rings in it. They call it standard because it's 60 cards, you know? Actually that's one of my colleague my work friends. He uh he was really funny. He has it's such to me such a charming story. Him and all his friends he lives in New York, all his friends are in LA. Him and all his friends have a league where they play on Zoom. This was like before Spell Table was a thing. They would track like the win rates, the results of a league, and then they have their own format where they think like four soul rings are legal, and his deck is like four soul rings, four dark rituals, and he's playing vampire nighthawk, vampire like singer. I forgot what it's. There's like a four mana one that like you reveal the top card. I think is a vampire plus whatever, right? Like he's playing a super fair vampire deck where it got Doom Blades, but you get to turn one Soul Ring, like Soul Ring, Soul Ring, Soul Ring, right? Um, to me, it's like such a, and then all his friends are like that too, and they're all playing like decks like like that. They have
Yeah.
access to everything, but their decks are like big spaghetti monsters. And like I wished like I had a group like that you could just you know play your own game of Magic. But he has no idea who game nights are, has no idea who the prof is, and I think there's act. If I were to imagine an ecosystem, yeah, Vampire, not Nocturnus. I was thinking about a content a Magic ecosystem. I would probably guess 40% of Magic players, and I'm just saying people who have bought Magic and play it semi regularly, 40% of them don't know content creators. And I would say maybe like 30, the rest of the 30, 40 would then know game nights and prof. And the last like 10, maybe less, then like knows like who I am. Like this is like the iceberg. We're getting pretty deep in the iceberg before you get to know who I am, right?
Yeah.
So my point of bringing all this up is I think content creators can kind of like influence how people engage with this game. But you can imagine when we think about the iceberg again, the people who we need to really help, they're not going to get from content creators, right? They're playing their own thing and maybe like somehow finding it, right? Um, I do think what happens is content creators influence somehow like bigger channels, and then those play the people who watch those channels then go to the LGS and they're like, "Oh, do you have a 7?" And the person who never engaged with Magic, they're like, "A what? Oh, like a 7, power level 7." And they're like, "I guess so." And through meeting other players, that's how they learn this stuff, right? So it's
Hmm.
kind of like a transfer of knowledge. So long story short, I guess they could do it. I just don't think that they're that impactful.
My brain is coming back to the analogy that you made of the iceberg, and I'm thinking, wow, if Rebel is like underwater on the iceberg, I'm like at like I'm living with like the anglerfish down in the dark water where they got like the light bulbs on their head.
The anglerfish is great though. Like the point is
Yeah.
just like, um, I think the point is just I think there's a lot of impact. Like we can have you and I and everyone else can have a lot of impact to make this
Hmm.
game better. I think it's just good to know like how specifically we can make it better, because like even if I have a magic wand and even if you gave me that magic wand again and I'm like the head of the CFIP and I wrote an article and I declared that uh Jeggy is the only commander you can play, or Jeggy starts in the companion zone, right?
Uh huh.
How many players are actually gonna like listen? Like, how many players will actually hear that, right? Like, maybe the really engaged group, but the rest of them might not even ever realize, like, oh, I have a Jeggy. So that's kind of where I was getting at.
Right. So we're caught up with chat. Um, Before we go, I would like to ask you one more question, Rebel, if you're all right with that.
Hmm.
What has been your proudest achievement in content creation?
Oh, this one's a really good one. Uh, uh, this one is I was at MC Chicago where uh I was waiting around some tables, getting ready to go back home. And this person comes up to me and they're like, "Oh, my friend is a really, really big fan of yours." And I was like, oh, "Okay, like tell him to come over here. Say hi." I don't bite. I'm just like I'm a small little bean, right? I'm super approachable. Come over. And they're like, "Oh, they're really shy. They just want to tell you like how much, they appreciate you, being there because them seeing me play Magic made them kind of like be more comfortable and more confident to come out and transition
Mm-hmm.
and be comfortable with themselves, right? And I was like, well, that's wonderful. Just let them know, like, I'm really proud of you. So she goes back, tells a friend, and the friend just comes over and just starts sobbing. And I give her a hug. And it's such a touching moment. Like to me, it doesn't matter what else I achieve after here. It doesn't matter if I go on another show. It doesn't matter if I have a statue erected of like that none of that stuff matters because I was able to make this person feel this way and impact their life this pot like I was able to make change that way. and that's all I needed to do. And that's something that I think about uh, when so I didn't like really think about this stuff until I saw Autumn Burkett play on I forgot which event. Um, and because I saw them, that inspired me to think about this more. And I think that's kind of like the real power behind uh, just like content creation and stuff like that is not so much that what you're able to create with it, how many clicks, how many whatever you do, is the fact that you show up, then you inspire someone else, then they're gonna show up, and they're gonna inspire someone else, right? And suddenly you have a whole community coming up of just people who never saw they were part of this, like part of this game, and now they're more comfortable because you just are just there, right? It's not like an ego thing. It's just like I'm just playing the game, just doing stuff, and the fact that I exist lets you know that you exist, and then we get to be strong together. So that's like my proudest moment.
That's a very beautiful story. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And that's all we have time for tonight, friends. Rebel, thank you so much for being on the show. Um, Absolute pleasure. You're a
Thank
wonderful
you.
person, and I'm lucky to have
Thank you so much. So,
had this
so
time to
nice.
chat with you. And before we go, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you online, how they can support you, and what events you got coming up? Where can they find you at conventions and stuff?
You can find me on YouTube, Rebel Lily. I'm also on Blue Sky. I think Rebel Blue there. I should probably change that. Um, but before I sign off, I thought of another really funny story. I
Okay,
just thought of
let's hear it.
at the same event. So we had a RC CAG signing, um, and I was sitting next to I think Shivam. No, Shivam was sitting next to Wheeler. Doesn't matter who I sat next to. Um, so there's a line, right? And on this line, there's a guy holding a big binder, and he looks at me. He's like, I'm like, oh, okay. There's 20 meters of binder. All right, it's gonna be interesting. So he comes up to me. He's like, it's so good to see you again. I'm really good at faces. I'm not good with names. I'm really good at faces. If I have like met you before an event, most cases I remember specifically where, what area of the convention hall and
Oh
what we
yeah,
talked about. Like, for some
yeah.
reason, I can remember those weird little details very well. If we play a game together, I can remember the whole game. Um, so so this guy is like holding on this binder and looking at he's like it's so good to see you again. I'm like, I've never seen you before. And he opens the binder, and it's a really big picture of Olivia. And at the time, my hair was silver. So I look at the photo, I look at him, I'm like, oh, it's good to see you again. I signed my name.
Oh,
And then he picked it up, looked at my signature, looked at me, looked at the photo, and he goes, thank you. And he walked away. Um, and later, Olivia finds me and she's like, I love your signature. Um,
well, I mean, you took the kind way out rather than correcting this person. You just went with it.
we, we get a funny story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being mistaken for Olivia is like the greatest praise you can ever have. That is very high praise.
I doubt it'll ever happen to me, but we'll see.
You never know.
You never know. Okay, so conventions coming up. Are you going to Chicago?
I will not be in Chicago,
Oh,
unfortunately.
that's sad.
Um, it's my mother's birthday, so I'm seeing her in Shanghai. So very
Oh,
good reason I'm not
wow.
there.
Yeah.
But I will be in every other event. So see me at Vegas and see me at the one after that one.
Atlanta.
Atlanta? Atlanta. Yeah, I've never been to Atlanta. Cool.
How long of a flight is Shanghai from where you are?
I don't know, like 15.
15 hours. Yeah, that sounds like a long flight.
Something I think okay, fun. The only way I can sit through a flight like that, I do this really wild thing. I rewatch No Way Home again and again. It's the only
The
movie I can
Spider-Man
watch. The
movie?
Spider-Man, yeah, Spider-Man No Way Home. So
Yeah.
it's about uh I think 13 watches, or no, it's about 11 watches of No Way Home to get to Shanghai or Hong Kong. Um yeah.
Just over and over again. You just like
Just over and over again. That's how I pass time, because then I can be like, oh, Green Goblin's throwing Peter through the apartment again. Oh,
that's your comfort movie. Awesome.
that's a really funny idea.
Um,
Commander at Home with Rebel and Callahan. That's so funny.
should call Olivia. Well, you are Olivia. You can make that happen.
I could just make it happen right
Yeah.
now. I'll find my plus one.
Call your BF Brian Kibler and make that happen.
Mhm.
Okay, and I'm Andy Zupke. You can find me on Blue Sky at Zupkeep, Zupkeep. We will be back next week, Tuesday, at the same time with Brouhaha, which,
Fantastic guest.
yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting them. I have never interacted with them before, so it should be a great time. I'll have lots of questions. So make sure you tune back in here next Tuesday for that. We are going to raid Steel City MTG. We're sending the love on over there. Tell them we said hi, and have a great night, everybody. Thank you for hanging out.
Good night.